Satnam. I want to share with you something that you can use if you're suffering with the coronavirus. I'll give you a couple of different versions of it because, again, depending upon how severe your symptoms are, you may not be able to do the optimal part of this. And I'll keep this as short as possible. Now, it's a simple thing to do, but there's quite a little bit to it. So let's first start with the easy part. And the easy part of this is that what we're going to do is create a sound of a B. And that's done simply by just inhaling through the nose and then exhaling. And you're just elongating that into a nice long sound of a B, like a humming sound. Just a nice long humming sound. Now, as you do that, ideally what you'll do is you'll have your tongue sort of rolled backwards so that the underside of your tongue is pressing up into the soft part of your palate. So meaning that you want your tongue to sort of roll backwards towards your throat. For now, this is enough to just have this happening. Just let it come back and just sort of let the back side of the tongue sort of press up into the soft part of the palate as you do this. Now, also as you do this, if you can imagine that that humming sound that you're making is the sound Om, spelled A-U-M. So you're taking a deep inhale, roll the tongue back, and then let that exhalation come out as the word A-U-M, So inhaling. Okay, and you'll let that exhalation come out as long as you can. 15 seconds, great. Longer, even better. Your eyes are what's next. Your eyes are going to be closed and rolled up to here as we do this. So now we inhale, roll the tongue back, let the back of the tongue touch the soft part of the palate. Eyes are now closed, rolled up at the brow point. And let that extend out. The last part of this is we're going to do two different positions. Now, the easier position to do is if you take your index finger and you take the flap of your ear and you push it inward. So now we're going to inhale, roll our tongue back, close our eyes, bring our attention up to that brow point as we're looking at that, and then blocking off the ear by pushing into the ear by closing the ear flap into it. Don't push into the ear canal. Take the ear flap and push that down. Now we try this, inhaling deeply. Okay, and the same thing, you'll just let this come out as a long exhalation through a closed mouth. This is the optimal. The optimal would be if you take your index finger and you place that just below the eye. You take your middle finger, you place that along the edge of the nose. Your ring finger, you take that and you put that below the nostril and then to the outside of it so you're not blocking it off. And you take your pinky and you put your pinky along the corner of the mouth. You do that to both hands. And then your thumbs would be what would be closing down your ear flaps, not your index finger. So again, your index finger is below the eye. Your middle finger is along the edge of the nose. Your ring finger is located just outside of the nostril. Your pinky touches the corner of your mouth, and your thumb closes down the ear flap. Now with our eyes closed, our hand in this position, our tongue rolled backwards, we take in a deep inhale and a nice, long, slow sound of as we create this B breath. So inhale deep. then you would inhale again, and you would continue. Now you do this 5 to 9 times. So you don't have to do it much, 5 to 9 times. So really only take a few minutes to do this. So that's ideal. Ideally, you put your hands in this position. You don't want any real pressure. It's more just a touch, blocking off the ear flaps. The other way to do it is you take your index fingers, you press down on the ear flap, and you do this. Eyes closed, tongue rolled back, making that sound. Now, if your symptoms are really bad, you can do this either lying down on your back or on your right side. So you can roll over to your right side. And if you can't do all the other positions, just at the very least, close your eyes, bring your attention to that brow point, and just long and slow, let that come out. Now you may say, well, what the heck is this going to do for my coronavirus? Well, it does a couple of different things. From a scientific point of view, it's actually working on your nitric oxide levels and your carbon dioxide levels because of the long inhalation, exhalation, and that process. The humming part, the hum, has an effect on your parasympathetic nervous system because it activates the vagus nerve. Now, why is the parasympathetic nervous system important during coronavirus? Well, because when your body is in a parasympathetic state, meaning that it's in a state of ease, a state of calm, what ends up happening is your immune system works better. Why is nitric oxide levels better in your body? Because it helps to bring the oxygen that's already being depleted in your body because of the coronavirus. So the struggling of this breath because of the symptoms that are coming with the coronavirus, this is something that's helpful. So getting rid of more carbon dioxide, increasing the nitric oxide in your body has an effect. So this is something that you can do that is very, very helpful for increasing the ability for your body to just kick this thing to the curb. The other beautiful thing about it is that it is a very relaxing thing to do. You'll see after first few rounds of doing this that it's just pleasant. And when you're usually happy, people usually hum or they whistle. So this is something that we do naturally where you so it creates a state within us that we, even though may be in a position that our bodies are not doing well because of the coronavirus, we don't have to suffer. An example, somebody who's hungry doesn't have to be hangry, right? So somebody that's just hungry can recognize that yes, they're hungry, but don't have to let the outward emotions of being angry and hungry at the same time come out. Hangry. That's an example of somebody that's suffering who's hungry. Somebody who's suffering who's hungry is a hangry person. What this technique helps to do is it's not going to take away necessarily the symptoms that you're having. However, it's going to make the process of you going through this much more pleasant. That's the idea. So it will affect those levels that we just spoke of, those oxide levels, it will affect those. It does stimulate that vagus nerve to increase the parasympathetic nervous system response, which will in turn have an effect on your immune system. So yes, it's helpful with all these things, but it is truly a fantastic thing to do if you're struggling with anxiety, depression. Going through this whole process in and of itself is not a fun thing to do, but this is something that you can do that makes it better. Sorry I was so lengthy with the explanation of it. Try it, experience it, share it. If you're suffering with coronavirus, I hope for a speedy recovery for you. When the virus is over, you no longer have symptoms, this is something you can continue to do. It's a fantastic technique. Learn it. Get good at it. It works great. As always, I wish you well. Sat Nam.